So good to see you all. This is the point, really? Wow, what a service, what music. Thank you all for blessing me. Wow. So most likely you've heard of the head-scratching paradox of science that has stumped many great minds. That is the conundrum concerning which came first, the chicken or the egg. Now I'll give you a few seconds to gather your thoughts and consider your personal position on the matter. Now, if you're team chicken, let me see you raise your hand. Okay. All right. Now, if you're team egg, let me see you raise your hand. Okay, thank you. Now, just wave if you're thinking, who cares? The only good egg is the one that is sunny side up. And the only chicken worth talking about is the Kentucky Fried kind. I know the vegans are cringing right about now. So the chicken or the egg? While this question is often posed metaphorically, evolutionary biology offers a literal solution grounded in the Darwinian principle. It suggests that chickens evolved from ancestors that were not chickens. Perhaps a dinosaur, a reptile that laid the egg from which the ancestors of today's chickens came about. Naturally, this presents an even greater mystery. The question now becomes, which came first, the dinosaur or the egg? At the end of the day, the question is something of a false dichotomy. It's misleading because evolution doesn't happen in sudden jumps. It's a slow, ongoing process. You see, we've all evolved to this point. It took zillions and zillions of years, and we're still yet evolving. Now, today, Easter is observed in numerous regions across the world. It comes at the start of spring when, at least here in this northern hemisphere, plants bloom, animals give birth, and the air is full of hope and regeneration. We see all the glories of the seasons. Also, we get to see all the vibrant Easter outfits and the spirited Easter egg hunts. And we get to eat some really good food, which I'm going to get later at my mama's house. As y'all know, she knows how to cook, right? But what's eggs got to do with anything? I've had lingering questions in the back of my mind. Why eggs at Easter? Easter eggs, alongside the iconic Easter bunny, trace back to ancient pagan rites celebrating spring's fertility. These symbols were later integrated into Christian practices to represent resurrection and new life. Now, I recall being a young pastor of a small Baptist church many years ago, and my first Easter came around, and the subject of Easter eggs came up. And as I was doing my research in preparation for the Easter Sunday message, I had a sort of revelation. It somehow dawned on me that eggs symbolize fertility. And here we were giving them to our young boys and girls, and even worse, offering the kids to hunt and compete for them. Now, this symbolism led me to think we were encouraging our young folks to be fruitful and to multiply. You see, my perspective was shaped by my context as an African American, aware that teen pregnancies were rampant at that time, particularly within the African American community. So my concerns had a basis in fact. So I stopped the whole thing. I didn't want to convey the message that we wanted our young folk to be fruitful and multiply. As you can imagine, the decision was not well received by either the parents or the children. Everybody was upset with me for ending Easter. Those grandmas was like, "You let those kids have their fun." I said, "No, Grandma, ain't no multiplying going on around here." But if this symbolism led me to only view these young girls in a reductive, barefoot, and pregnant light, as the saying goes, and view boys as promiscuous, then the issue wasn't really with them. It was with me and my worldview at the time. I'm the one that had the problem, folks. But that is not to say that symbolism isn't important in the messages that they convey. Now, years later, after realizing the depth of wisdom embedded in the simple symbolism of an egg, I wondered if I could go back. I could explain to the youth that nestled within the egg's shell lies the promise of possibility, a metaphor for potential inherent in all of us. A metaphor for the potential inherent in all beginnings, human or otherwise. I would have conveyed that while it symbolizes fertility and physical birth, it also represents spiritual rebirth, personal growth, and transformation. I could have talked about the fragility of the egg and about how easily it can be broken, just like our lives, when they are mishandled, abused, neglected, abandoned, stolen. I would talk with them about the struggles that people their age often feel and about the grief and loss that their lives no doubt will encounter. I would have talked to them about the fears of the future, the possible challenges they may face with education and career opportunities or the lack thereof. I tell them to beware of the trappings of credit card and student loan debt. I talk to them about having to navigate societal expectations and peer pressure, or the impact of being bullied or cyberbullied, that they may someday fall in love and then have their hearts torn in two. I would have mentioned that they might someday wrestle with self-esteem and identity issues, or that people might not always accept them for who they are or who they love. I would talk to them about the challenges of mental and emotional health, including anxiety and depression, that they may face a serious illness that affects their mobility and livelihoods. I would inform the young girls about the power of the eggs they carry inside their own bodies, and how politicians, preachers, and presidents someday might try to control what women and girls can and cannot do with their bodies and their eggs. Someone else taking away their right to bodily autonomy and deciding when those eggs begin the journey of life. Imagine that. But I would remind them, I would also remind them of the hope and possibilities for healing, and a time that would come that they may possess even greater strength And someday that they will have to learn, and they will learn well how to live with their disabilities. I would share with them the promise of new love and the life that awaits them if they don't give up. I would tell them in vivid imagery that even though eggs are fragile and how we want dearly to protect them from breaking, for a new life to emerge, the egg must break from the inside. This breaking process mirrors our own lives. This perspective would lay the groundwork for a conversation about life as a beautiful thing that stems from brokenness, finding beauty in our fractures. As I discussed a couple of weeks ago, the concept is similar to the Japanese kintsugi bowls, which become even more beautiful after being repaired. It's brokenness, a testament to resilience. I would emphasize that this act of breaking is a moment of vulnerability, and vulnerability is crucial for growth and transformation. Vulnerability is an invitation for us to reflect on how, in our deepest moments of fracture and loss, we can find the seeds of hope and possibility. I can imagine those kids looking at those eggs thinking, all of that? All of that in an egg? Yes, I've evolved in my thinking, folks, particularly around the symbolism of eggs. And hopefully we're all evolving into better versions of ourselves. In this community, we covenant with one another to seek the truth in love. We have the free pulpit and free pew. Here, we're not afraid to tackle difficult and controversial issues, even if they change our perspectives as a result. In fact, we hope they do. We are counting on it. And yes, just like I've changed my position on the Easter egg hunt, as well as a wide range of other topics, our views will continue to evolve in light of new evidence, explorations, deep thinking, and discoveries. I will try to unpack this a little more next week in next week's reflection as we move into the theme of transformation. Now, if I had not completely lost their attention already, I would have ended my counsel with a reflection on death and dying, but not in a way that leaves them believing death is merely an end to be feared and avoided at all cost. The renowned author of Thank God for Evolution, Reverend Michael Dowd, passed away unexpectedly this past October at the age of 64. Leaving behind a legacy of writings, lectures, and advocacy that well transcended the bounds of traditional religious thought. Now, I remember meeting both Michael and his wife Connie here at the church many years ago after one of their lectures. I recall how warm and so full of life they both were, and I've continued to follow their work over the years. Now, Michael identified as a religious naturalist, holding the conviction that the earth, nature, and the universe constitute the ultimate reality, offering wisdom to be heeded and lessons to be learned. He was also a staunch advocate for climate justice and a passionate defender of the environment. He believed that the mystery from which we came is the same one, the same mystery we return. And he viewed, quote, death as natural and necessary and no less sacred than life, end quote. Michael maintained a mailing list which he used to update subscribers about his life and work, but nothing had been sent out since his death. Then, just a week ago, surprisingly, I received a message sent 2 subscribers by Michael's wife, Connie Barlow, where she announced the closing out of his mailing list and shared a beautiful and poignant reflection about their journey of love and their understanding of life, death, and the cosmos. Connie, in her reflection, said, quote, "Both Michael and I regard his life as complete. His death is not a tragedy, even at his somewhat youthful age of 64. Connie writes, "Over the past 2 decades, Michael and I co-developed a perhaps unusual perspective on death. It was grounded in the deep time understanding of evolution and thus gave us a sense of identity, not so much as individuals, but as ephemeral expressions of the creative force of life." She continued, "I had the opportunity to live that worldview last autumn, and by golly, it proved its worth. After the initial horror and necessary busyness of attending to endings, a welcome calm and gratitude took up residence in my life. Enhanced motivation to attend to my own last works and legacy in such spirit also was a gift," end quote. Now, this perspective, born from deeply accepting life's full cycle, sees every stage from birth to death as essential, viewing death not as an end, but as part of the universe's continual transformation. It underscores the importance of seeing ourselves and our lives as part of a greater whole, urging us to live with purpose, to add to life's unfolding story, and to approach our end with grace and gratitude. In reflecting on the nature of life, we are reminded that every existence, no matter how long or short, carries within it the profound capacity to influence and inspire. Life's true value is not measured by the span of years, but by the depth of its impact. The purpose of life transcends the individual, connecting us in a web of shared humanity and a collective legacy. When our own Reb Marlin's 3-year-old daughter, Sienna, suddenly passed away in 2006, the pain and the loss was felt by the whole community. And out of the depths of this loss, the Sienna Project was born. It has become a justice program in our church and stands as a powerful act of love that was born out of death and life. It was Sienna's family and a passionate group of volunteers that came together to build up to this point 12 schools in Guatemala and to improve other children's lives in Sienna's honor. Her short but impactful life ignited a legacy of education and opportunity affecting countless others. Her spirit keeps inspiring us, living on in the joy and a brighter future of kids in distant lands. It's a beautiful reminder that every goodbye opens the door to new beginnings. And from our deepest sorrows can bloom the most profound expressions of love and legacy. So as we close out the theme of brokenness this month, and while the kids are gleefully merging pagan and Christian traditions, but mostly just having fun, let the humble egg in all its simplicity inspire us. In our lives, just like in the natural world, endings and beginnings are intertwined in an eternal dance. The premature crack in an eggshell, though it may signify loss, also reminds us of the delicate balance we navigate between holding on and letting go, between what was and what could be. Yet, it is in the very act of breaking open, at the precise moment of hatching, that life asserts its resilience, bursting forth with new possibilities, new dreams, and new paths to wonder. So who cares which came first, the chicken or the egg? Let's move into tomorrow with hearts open to embracing change, nurturing hope, and celebrating the cycle of life that connects us all. Here's to breaking free, to healing, to living fully, and to the incredible journey of becoming.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend his fire. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. And we shall be known